Everyone, I hope you're all wide awake. My opportunity is to introduce Triometric's latest innovation, which is our Trio data engine. But that means I'm going to talk about analytics, and I know for some people analytics is going to put folks asleep. But what I would say is if you're in distribution and you don't have analytics, I think you're going to have a load more sleepless nights, so bear with me. This cartoon kind of summarizes what I need to talk about. It's really the concept that out there's a whole lot of big data, and I'm going to do something magical with that data, and I'm going to turn it into something called great data, and it's going to run my business for me. That's a journey that starts by gathering that data, and I've got to go to a whole load of different sources. It could be that I want to do network monitoring of simply traffic, availability traffic coming in and out of my CRS. It could be a cloud-based API. It could be that my IT department has set up some data logging system and is pushing data into something like a data lake in Amazon S3, or putting stuff onto a big data queue called Kafka. At the other end of the journey, I've got to surface something to the user. I've got to make them functional and effective, and that means putting data into a tool that they're familiar with. Maybe that's their corporate standard. It could be something like ClickView or Tableau or something of that order. So the map for my journey kind of looks a little bit like this. Up at the top, I've got the data sources. And I'm constantly getting huge amounts of data from them. It's arriving in real time. At the bottom, I've kind of got the user reporting I just talked about, but I've also got, on the bottom right, this new kid on the block, this AI technology, and I need to feed that too. That's a kind of machine learning system. It's a data-hungry monster that if I feed it the right information, is going to help me run my business. But quite clearly, there's a big gap in the middle of this journey. And that's precisely where the Triometric data engine fits in. So this is advanced technology. It's going to look at every single XML and every single JSON request you've got coming in from your searches and your bookings. It's going to look at HTTP layers. It's going to look at HTTPS. It can decrypt it on the fly. It's going to look at the TCP layer. It's going to look at broken connections, timeouts, all those things that get in the way of business. It's going to do it at scale. It's something like 2 billion transactions a day. It's going to do all of that in real time. And if something's going wrong, it's going to alert you to tell you there's a problem. But we're here to innovate. I don't want to bore you to death with technology, so let's kind of change the pattern here and go and talk about some business stuff. So distribution is a bit of a maze. There's probably a bunch of decisions you've already made, and some of those are around which partners you use to go to market with for distribution. Some of those decisions will be about technology. But there's also probably some decisions you've not made. And if that decision includes analytics and you haven't actually put something in place, then you're probably in this scenario. I've got Dilbert here. Everybody familiar with Dilbert? He's the guy that's running my CRS system, and my CRS is connected to my switch partner, my distribution partner. If I'm the business guy trying to run this distribution and I want to know what the heck's going on, I've got to go to Dilbert. And those of you who know Dilbert know that any interruption from the business manager is this annoying thing that gets in the way of some technical priority that Dilbert's dealing with. So this is a challenge. And the business is going to say, I need data, I need data, I need data. But the business also has a responsibility. The business has to put in place some processes and some skills. So you need people that can, when you get hold of this data, can work with this data, they can analyze it, they can make a decision, and most importantly, they can take an action. If you don't take that action, then guess what? Everything you just did before is just a complete waste of time and money. The data that you want isn't just some summary data, a few search counts, something like that. It should be quite detailed. It should support the ability to drill down and sort out problems. And of course, you've got to feed the data monster AI system as well. So let's assume we've got some data. What sort of things am I going to use it for? Well, I thought I would share one problem with you and one opportunity with you. So firstly, the problem. This has actually come from a live customer that we just implemented the data engine with. They bought it for many reasons, but one of them was actually to look at some of these problems that they have. And one of them is this random drop-off in reservation traffic, which had been puzzling them for some time. When they got the data engine installed and they started to be able to look at the search patterns and the traffic that was coming in, they could see that actually there was a correlation between some of the issues in search that was coming through to the bookings. And when they dug further, they found it was through a particular distribution partner. And when they dug even further still, they found actually it was an OTA on the other side of that distribution partner. So armed with the data from the data engine system, they took that to the distribution partner and had the problem resolved by actually adding some additional infrastructure. Let's talk about an opportunity for a second, and I thought one to perhaps mention was AI in revenue management. Currently in the industry, I'm guessing that a lot of this is kind of like a black art. It's price setting based on recent booking history, so if my bookings are kind of quite high, I'm probably going to be quite buoyant about my pricing. But if you're going to run that on a machine, you need to get a bit more theoretical and a little less black art. So I went to Wikipedia and I borrowed this chart. I hope you can see it. It's quantity against price. And I have D1 is the demand curve, and S is the supply curve. Where D1 crosses the S, that's the point at which the buyer and the seller can agree a price. If I want to change that price, I need to shift that curve to D2. And to do that, I should have information that supports that increase in price. And that shouldn't be based around something like recent booking history. It needs to be based on big data. It needs to be based on search information, which is the true measure of demand. So clearly, we need some big data, and it's going to feed this AI engine. But what about the other side of it? What about our user? Well, he's not a machine. He's not going to look at lots of data. He's going to look at something that's summarized and aggregated up. It's called little data. It's the data that fits on a single screen that he can look at, he can analyze, he can make a decision, and he can take the action that's so important. So I'm clearly talking about big data, and everybody's talking about big data. So how does that work out in terms of distribution? Well, we've put together a white paper on this particular subject, so if you're interested, there's some copies available at the back. But basically what it describes is the opportunity to use data in things like IT operations, so on the performance side of things. It's about tracking what I'm sending back to search responses, so what my inventory looks like through different channels. It's about what prices I'm offering against particular types of products and how it's converting. And then mostly, it's also about relevance. And I've got one final example slide to share with you, which is taken directly from the reporting tool of the data engine. And this is bang on in this relevance pillar. So if you can see this well enough, on the columns on the right, I've got lots of numbers. This is a count of the number of responses that we've got back against the criteria at the top of the column. And that's whether a property is business or leisure. And I've achieved that by looking at the property codes in search responses. I've looked up that property code in Giata data, and I've been able to classify that property as business or leisure. If you look down the column on the left, you'll see I've got a segmentation going. That's actually based on a heuristic. Now remember, we're in the B2B channel. This is anonymous data. I don't know anything about the traveler other than what he's telling me. So if I look at the search parameters that are coming through, so for example, when does this person want to travel? Is it early in the week? Are they staying 1 night, 2 nights? Are they going a little bit later in the week? Are they staying a bit longer? Does it include a Saturday night? Are they going to stay for 7 nights, 14 nights? Who are they traveling with? Is there an adult on their own? Is there another adult? Are they sharing a room? Are they in separate rooms? Are there any infants or children involved in this? So when I look at this, I can see, and if you look at the top row in this one, this is a real data set, by the way. I've got 2 people traveling on business. I've sent them 86,000 odd leisure properties. And I've only sent them 26,000 business properties. That's the problem we need to go and solve. Thank you very much.